Okay, in this section, we're going to talk about steps of service. Now, most restaurants are pretty organized about this nowadays and have their own system of steps of service. I have seen, depending on restaurants that I've worked at or worked with, from 6 to 27 steps of service. So I've established 16 steps of service. They might be different than where you work. But it's just to give you an idea of what if you ever work somewhere where there are no steps of service, make sure this gets covered. This will help you provide good service. Yes, there are steps that are missing, and yes, there are steps that are there that you wouldn't need if you didn't serve alcohol. But this is just to give you an idea of the kind of flow that you want to create in an evening. Okay? So the first step will be welcome introduction. So within a minute or two, you've touched the table, you've greeted everyone, you've asked them how they are, you've introduced yourself. It's your first introduction. And as we say, first impressions are very important. It's the time where you want to show up with a smile, you want to be in a good mood, you don't want to be grumpy, they don't need to know that the kitchen is late on the table, right? This is where you set the mood for the evening. If they're in a cranky mood, don't react in a cranky mood. It is your job at that point to flip that mood and to put them in a good mood, right? It might take a while, but you can get them there. So your introduction has to be pretty powerful. This is where you can ask them, it's the first time they visit you. This is where you introduce them, and this is where it's your time to shine and be funny or be cordial, come with a good attitude. Second one, offer specific drinks. So be specific, right? Do you want something to drink? Versus, depending if they're obviously for a dinner or lunch, or if they're younger, but offer specific drinks. Would you like if they're on a patio and you can tell they're not going to drink alcohol because they're underage, would you like a nice iced tea or a cold pop? Or would you like a beautiful glass of white wine, right? Be logical. Big dude, construction, you can guess you might want to have a beer, right? So go with a beer, suggest a specific beer, or what kind of beer do you like? Open questions, right? But suggest specific things, a nice Caesar or Bloody Mary or wherever you're from, or specific cocktails. Bunch of group of ladies that are going out, you might want to be suggesting some cocktails, a Cosmo for example, or something more specific that you have in your restaurant, but be specific. Good time at the same time as you're talking about drinks and taking a drink order, as you go into that, but explain the specials, the concept. So, if they've never been there and there's something specific, you're a tapas restaurant or a small plates, or there's a certain way that the people order, this is where you want to explain the concept. Some of the specials that you have in the evening. Next step would be to serve the drinks. As you're serving the drinks, answer their questions, right? Good time to say, do you have any questions about the menu? If there's more details that you need to be given, if they're not sure, and to take the order. They might want to, depending on the mood, they might want to enjoy their drinks. At lunch, or in a shorter service environment, they might want to take the order right now, and some other times they might want to have the drinks for a little bit, but that's kind of where you'd be that. And going back from that point on, you'd be checking to see if there's questions to be answered, if they need suggestions, if they need a bit more time, and then proceed with the order taking. Now the order taking, some people take way too many notes and too many details, and they have this little pad. I think if you train your brain, if you look at very experienced servers, for a table of 2 or 4, they'll be able to memorize it. Now, I don't want you to start memorizing it now and making mistakes and having to go back to the table to clarify things, but it's pretty easy if you repeat it in your head, right? There's not 40,000 items unless you have this 20-page menu, but a soup and a burger and a salad and a steak, or pasta, whatever it is, it's pretty easy to remember. When what you can do is write short terms when you're taking an order. If you're taking by seat numbers, most restaurants will function with seats, right? So when you're standing at a table, the first person to your left will be seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, seat 4. If there's 2 people, it'll be seat 1 and seat 2. Well, it's pretty easy to just write seat 1, soup. You can put an S, but that could be a salad, but you can go for short soup / the burger. Okay, and even if you don't write a hamburger and you can just burr, you'll remember what that is. And then the other person will have the salad, so you can write sal, you remember what that is, and then you could write they're having a duck. That's 4 letters, right? Duck. Boom. I can take an order of 20 people in 3 minutes like this. So you don't have to start writing chicken soup, hamburger. Okay, be logical, be short. you'll remember what you've written, right? I know this is basic, but for some people that seems very complicated. And if you're unsure because you have to take more than one order, you can write on your little paper, table 12. Seat 1, seat 2, seat 3, then flip it over if you need more confidence. But most experienced servers can get through this with their smaller tables without taking too many notes. Practice your brain, right? After that, step 5, suggest a wine. If that's something that you have, or sometimes depending on the service you'll have cocktails and all that, but if you have wine in the service to offer, this would be a good time after the order has been put in to go back and say, well, we'll be having wine with the dinner, with the lunch, with the meal today. Serve the appetizer, bring it to the table. Always try to serve the ladies first as much as possible. This is something that is still appreciated by women and men even in some circles. So serve the appetizer, and within a few bites or a minute or two, this is a very important step that is often overlooked or done very poorly, a sincere quality check. Most people will ask for a quality check. A quality check is everything's good? Yes, thank you, and you walk away. A sincere quality check is asking the question and looking at the people to see if they will just say yes, so you go away, or because they're uncomfortable telling you that something's wrong. Yes, some guests will tell you that something's wrong, but most people that have something wrong won't tell you. So when you say everything to your liking and you get this, yes, it's not. And this is where a sincere quality check makes a difference. If you see, and it's not going to happen often, but sometimes when you see that the person is not satisfied, poke a little bit. What's wrong? Is it not what you expected? Is it the right temperature? Is it too cooked, undercooked? Whatever it is. Some people will think on this, and it's not because they're right or wrong, it's a personal taste. On the same salad, somebody will tell you, in the same evening that you're selling a certain salad, there's too much dressing on this, and the other person will say, well, where's the dressing? Like, it's so dry. Be aware, look at them, and you can judge. You're smart enough, and I'm sure you've interacted with enough humans to know if something's wrong, right? So have a sincere reaction. And I haven't mentioned it, but when you're serving drinks, if you're sort of suggesting wines or beer or cocktails, when you come back to take the order, do a quality check and ask them, how are your cocktails? How's your martini? How's your beer? How's your wine? And look at a reaction. Your job, as I mentioned previously in a different lecture, is to make sure they leave the door happy and satisfied with the money they spent. If you don't take time to do this, you're slipping people out the door that have a little something they weren't happy with, but they didn't want to bother you with, but you weren't good enough to notice it. And this is where top servers become top servers and build rapport with people, is when they have a reaction, the thing that guests didn't even want to mention, then you look like you know what you're doing, and then people give that much more trust to you and want to grow their relationship with you that much more. After that, clean the appetizers, fill the water, H2O, the bread, the wine. If you're serving bread, they offer more bread if they want more. Top up the wine if they're having wine. Fill their water. After that, it should be serving the main course. And same thing. Quickly, you want to make a sincere quality check. Make sure they're happy. And this is the big one because that's where they're spending most money, is on the main course. You want to make sure that it is to their liking and that they have everything they need. Okay, are they missing ketchup, mayo, whatever, condiments, drinks, bread? Make sure at this point they have everything. And don't be overzealous, right? When you're talking about topping wine or this and that, if they're talking about themselves, the sincere quality check is important. You want to get in there and make sure it is, but after that, let them eat. Some servers want to be so cool or build so much rapport, they don't know when to pull off, right? When you're doing an intro is the time. When you're talking about the food or quality checking or stuff like that, or opening a bottle of wine, this is your time to shine and build that rapport. The rest of the time, leave them alone. Some servers will absolutely they have to top up wine. You know who's drinking what wine and where they're headed, right? You know this person doesn't want to drink too much because they're driving, and this person wants to wait with the food, and this person is drinking quickly, so that's the one you want to top up. There's no need for you to I was training a server recently. I go in quickly, top up a red wine, 6 people at a table, and I know he's the only one that needs topping up. And this person that I'm coaching, is at the table and grabs a bottle of white wine. There's only one person drinking white wine and their glass is full. Interrupts everybody talking mid-course to say, would anybody like some white wine? Everybody's drinking red wine, 2 people aren't drinking, and there's 1 person having white wine, right? So everybody stops, looks at him like, are you stupid? Creates a little moment of tension. It didn't ruin the meal, everything was fine, but it's one of those where you're a clown, I ideally don't want to be served by you. Okay, so you have to be logical about your interactions with the guest. Sincere quality check, clean the main courses once they're done. Yeah, it's time to chat a little bit. If they look at, don't throw yourself in there, but if they look at you, everything was good, what was your favorite part of the meal, blah, 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 chance to get some feedback. If it's a new dish, you can say that. Oh, it's a new dish we've added to the menu, and chef is curious to get your feedback, or my manager is curious to get your feedback, how was it? And then they'll tell you. And sometimes it'd be, oh, this was great, but I thought that maybe this part of the dish was a little too much. And if you get 10 times the same comment, then you share it with the person in charge. Maybe they can make a change and make that dish even better. So you're strengthening the restaurant where you're working. Makes you an even better employee, or a better part of the organization. After that, coffee and desserts, offering coffee and desserts. And remember, sometimes whatever you're trying to sell, the physical aspect you bring to it will help sell. So a lot of times if you're nodding your head as you're talking, it'll help people make a positive decision. And I've seen, this is where I've noticed this, the negative one, is that when people go to a table, servers go to the table because they have to flip it, or they don't want to bother with doing coffee. They'll be, and I've been a victim of that. I've noticed that I tended to do that when I was serving. Sometimes if I went to the table to get out of there, to be, any coffee or desserts? Well, this lemon biting face, and the nodding, the negative nod. If you're going no coffee or desserts, for the most part, people will say, yeah, no, you know what, you're right. But if you're going and can I tempt you with some desserts? We have some fantastic things. With anything that you suggest, drinks, food, if you go to do a sincere quality check, is everything that you're liking, you're more positive to get it. I still want you to have a reaction if you see that it's not sincere from their part, but any nod that you do, but if you do this, no coffee or desserts, if you want them out the door, use that. It'll work half the time. I don't know, because you're putting into they'll do the same thing and follow you. And try it. Even if you're doing this and you go to a table, people will tend to do the same thing with their heads. Order coffee and desserts, serve the coffee and desserts. If you want to offer digestif or some more drinks, Porto or something like that, this is where, dessert wine, this is where you would be doing that. Top up the coffee. That's something that for some guests is a very important step. And at that point, sometimes we feel like, service has gone through, they've had a great experience, they should be happy and get out of here. Well, warming up the coffee, I've personally had somebody tell me, well, you didn't top off our coffee. Do you want us to leave? You want us out of here? Do you need the table? What is wrong? So make sure that serving the coffee is one thing, but people expect you to top it off and to warm it up. And sometimes, depending on the service or if you're busy, something might be overlooked, but make sure that you keep that, at least offer it. Right? And if you do and they say yes, make sure that you obviously bring it to them. Step 15, present the bill and process the payment. This is also somewhere sometimes that will be lacking. Don't wait for them, okay? After you've warmed up the coffee, after desserts are done, bring the bill, be polite about it, say whenever you're ready, here's the bill, there's no rush. But you don't want them to get up and look for you, because that'll always happen when you're going to the kitchen to run something that somebody's standing asking for a bill. And when you process the payment, make sure that you don't make him wait. Yes, sometimes you have a new table that just got sat, there's a kitchen that wants you to run some food, you have different things to do. Just make sure that you process the payment promptly. You'd put the bill there, they keep chatting, there's no rush. Sometimes if they've asked you the bill or you brought it and they're pulling their wallet out, keep an eye out, make sure you grab that card, process it. It's a 2-second thing. It takes 30 seconds, but you'll make sure that, we're making sure until the end they're happy. So let's not drop the ball on the last few ones here. And the last one is to thank them and re-invite them. Thank them for coming, thank them for visiting you. Make sure that you re-invite them to come back. Okay, because a lot of times people will commit verbally, and subconsciously, once they've committed, a lot of times they'll want to follow up on that. So there's 3 easy ways you can re-invite them to. If you've chatted with them and you know that they have an anniversary, a birthday, a kid's birthday, their birthday, something coming up, and you know that that's coming up, you can re-invite them for that. So, oh yes, don't forget for Sally's birthday, if you guys want to come back, it'd be great to see you for that event. Second thing you can do is something that's happening around town. So there's a special event, there's a festival, there's something happening close to the restaurant. Let's say, hey, in 2 weeks there's Winterlude, in 2 weeks there's the music festival around the corner, or the art festival. You know, you guys planning on visiting that? Yeah, it would be great. You can come and see us. You know, we'll have a lot of people that mention they want to go there, and they'll come and have a bite here. Will we see you there? We'll see you there. Great, see you then. Re-invite them. And the third thing is a dish or a drink or a wine or something from the restaurant that you've talked about that they were curious to try, but they went with something else. Well, if you're sharp, remember that. Okay, so they were asking you about the duck, but they decided to go with a fish instead. Well, when they leave, say, hey, you should come back in a few weeks, try that duck. Guarantee you that fish was great. That duck, oh my God, it's amazing. Or a cocktail that they decided to go with a beer, but they were hesitating for a new cocktail you have. Mention it when they leave. You know, that Blue Lagoon that we have, you know, come back, should try that Blue Lagoon soon. Oh, okay, so you give them something, you put something in their mind of what they could have next time. So that's not going to work with everyone, but for a few people, they might be, oh yeah, it's true, huh? He did tell me I should go back and try that drink. Because you've built that rapport, you've built that relationship. That's it for the steps of service.